All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Blue Collar Sports Talk, November the 23rd here in the bedroom studio. James.
Happy Thanksgiving early, y'all.
Roger.
Good morning, people.
We're having fun this morning. I hope you all enjoyed the 60-degree weather yesterday and got out.
Ooh.
Everybody in this neighborhood was just out walking. It was beautiful. Let's start off with a little volleyball action. If y'all are interested in volleyball, we're going to have some huge matches coming up on this weekend. To start off, number 5 Ohio State, who just recently beat Nebraska in volleyball, lost to Indiana on Sunday in 5 sets, which could potentially be huge for the seeding. And the selection show is Sunday, November the 27th on ESPNU at 6:30, if anybody's interested in watching that. The volleyball team is at home on Friday against Wisconsin. That's on Big Ten Network. And then the next day, we're at home against Minnesota, also on the Big Ten Network at 8 p.m.
Can we get a set? I mean, Wisconsin, can we win a set?
I hope Cook goes and looks at what other teams have done to beat Wisconsin, because they're not undefeated.
No.
And I think we can.
Yeah.
I think we can.
You've said numerous times their defense really plays us and steps up. But at some point, can't our girls step up and go, you know what? Enough is enough.
Yeah.
You know?
They can. James, you had some interesting news?
Oh, they got 2 that are not going to take their COVID year. Good old Kenzie Knuckles and my girl Maddie are deciding to move on. And I do see the writing. You got number 1 recruiting class come in, which they always top 3 anyway, recruiting class. So he has all the young talent. We saw Calfee leave this year for the same reason. We had a Penn State transfer and a couple other girls that came in. I hate to see him go because, I mean, he's, Maddie just really pounds the ball. She really hits it with power, and I love it. I don't like the whole just pick a spot, kind of aim it, hit it hard. And I'm going to miss her.
So they're going to just elect not to play at all, or they'll play with elsewhere?
They haven't said.
Right. They haven't said if they're in transfer portals. They can graduate. I mean, they've already been there 4 years. So, I mean, I'm sure, I would hope they'd have their degree. Probably working on a second.
Maddie's boyfriend, Banks, the Nebraska offensive lineman.
Oh.
Does he get drafted? Does that play in? Or does she already have offers to play professional volleyball? Is she looking at that? No one knows. I'm guessing at what potentially could happen.
I would be surprised if she's not getting talked from some semi-pro stuff or stuff volleyball outside, because like I said, she's so much power and so quick.
And part of her game is picking the spots on the court, and that comes with experience. So we've watched Whitney Lonstein go from just an amazing power hitter her true freshman year to now where she's picking her spots a little bit better, sometimes taking a little bit off of the spike and dumping it. Lindsay Krause always is stepping her game up incrementally as every game comes along. So it's fun. It's fun to see all these girls.
And finally, a Nebraska coach that when the player comes and they're really good, they're getting better. If we can just say the same for the men's sports, when they come with talent, that's fine. We have to make them better. And Cook doing it for years. Because like I said, some of these girls come in 5 stars, number 1. And then you're like, oh my gosh, have you seen the growth?
I'm glad you said that. We had Tom Osborne, and he picked his successor, Frank Solich. A lot of people know that story. But we changed athletic directors, and the newest athletic director that came in butted heads with Frank. But Frank is great at developing players, and the reason I brought that up is what he did at Ohio.
For numerous years.
Had them at the top of the MAC. Just every year. And where would we be if he would have stayed here?
Right. And he didn't have a top 20 recruiting class up there.
No.
He brought in 2 and 3 stars and made them 4s. Yeah.
So Nebraska football has been mentioned. We have a Friday game on BTN against Iowa, at Iowa. 10.5-point underdogs on the road, over set at 37.5. Hometown homer, I'm hoping Nebraska gets one last win, potentially for Mickey Joseph's last interim head coaching job at Nebraska.
I don't see it. I don't think we can score right now enough to beat Iowa. Iowa's defense is great. It's going to be a low-scoring game, but I think it'll be like 20-10, and I'll take the 10.5. I'll take the Huskers on that, but I think that's what it'll be, about right at 10. So, but I don't think we win.
It pains me to agree with you, Roger, because I want the 1990s, mid-90s, late 80s Nebraska team to be on the field, and they're not. And I agree. I think Iowa comes in, but I'm right there with you. I think Nebraska can avoid the 10-point loss. James, what do you think?
We're going to start off early, and I'm just going to say it's my upset special. I did say there's a few people I talked to after that close, very depressing loss. When you have the game, just need to stop. But I said it after that, Nebraska will beat Iowa. Nebraska wins this game despite the 10-point deficit. You're right. That defense, if you put Iowa's defense on any other team in the Big Ten, they would beat Ohio State and Michigan both. That defense is that good. But on the flip side, the offense is that bad. And I think Casey Thompson played really well, and if they keep that momentum, they have a chance to keep Iowa from winning the West. Like you said, probably the last game for Mickey. My also side note, I think by Monday we hear of the new coach, whoever it's going to be. I think it's Monday. I think this was the last thing they were waiting on.
Yeah, I just read that Leopold.
Extension.
Yep.
Both K-State and Kansas.
Yeah.
There's an extension. Washington just gave their coach an extension. All these teams trying to hold on to their coach for a few more years.
There's even a rumor that Deion Sanders will come in and leave Jackson State, but
I think that's so far. But the rumors are unbelievable.
That's a long shot. Honestly, I think he would go to Auburn or something like that. But
Matt Rule, I saw Matt Rule decided not.
Right. Yeah. But like the rumors, somebody came out and said that Lane Kiffin's already accepted the Auburn job.
Yeah, he was the other one I read that he told his players that he didn't accept the job at Auburn.
Right.
He didn't say he wasn't leaving. He just didn't accept the job at Auburn.
Right.
How many times in the past have you say I didn't accept the job and then a month or two later they go, oh, they're a head coach?
You. Yeah. I'm not going anywhere, you guys. I'm here for you. And then right after the bowl game, see ya.
Moving on to number 1, Georgia at home. Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's 5-6. Underdogs by 35.5 points is the last I saw. Overs are set at 48.5. I mean, Georgia Tech could play spoiler to Georgia. Georgia has had the craziest low-scoring games against some opponents this year. And I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to take Georgia Tech.
Just for the points, though, not to actually win the game.
No, I'm going to go upset.
Oh, this is your upset.
This is my upset pick. And it's not just the points. I'm saying Georgia Tech comes in and stuns everybody. Everybody's just gobsmacked that, oh, my gosh, what just happened?
What did you say the point spread was?
35.5. 35.5. And 48.5 overs.
It's back to the whole, like the Iowa thing. Georgia's defense is so good, and Georgia Tech is so one-dimensional. And we talked before we were on air, about running the ball and how Navy ran the ball the entire time, won the game. Georgia Tech can do that, but I think Georgia's defense is too good. I mean, I'd be surprised if Georgia Tech gets 2 field goals in this game. Unless there's a turnover. Now, Georgia can turn the ball over a couple times and already in field goal range, and they get them, but I don't see them driving more than 40. You're getting 2 or 3 first downs on a drive against that defense. Georgia wins. Do they cover, not cover? I don't care. Georgia wins and continues to dominate. I can see a good 20, 24-point lead because the game is so shortened by Georgia Tech running the ball and going slow.
Roger?
Yeah, I like Georgia Tech to stay within the 35.5, but Georgia wins, much like they did last week against Kentucky. That was a fairly low-scoring game, 27. Does that sound right?
Let's see. Georgia's last game.
Yeah, they went in pretty.
Yeah, 16-6.
Yeah.
Oh, 16-6.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Again, though, Kentucky just couldn't move the ball.
Yeah.
Georgia was all over them.
Yeah, and I don't think Georgia Tech will move the ball, but I think the game goes fast. Georgia scores its 28 points, 28-7, something like that. I'll take Georgia Tech and the unders.
Georgia Tech just knocked off University of North Carolina the previous game, 21-17. So they're capable of playing up to their opponent. And again, it all comes out to what happens.
Yeah.
Jump to the NFL for 30 seconds. We all picked the Vikings, and then the Vikings fell asleep.
Right.
Or the Green Bay Packer lost, woke up the Dallas Cowboys defense, something. Yeah. So moving on to number 3, Michigan, at number 2, Ohio State. Ohio State favored by 7.5 at home. Overs are set at 57.5, with potentially 2 of the best defenses in the Big Ten right now. That is a lot of overs.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a great game, one of the better Michigan-Ohio State matchups. Obviously, the last few years, Michigan's kind of faltered down the stretch and went in limping. Both undefeated for the first time, I think, in like 15 years. I don't know the exact set.
2006.
So, okay, 16 years. So, man, I'm excited for this game. I wish they could both finish 0-0 because I don't like either team. I don't know if it's an upset because, like I said, when you have 2 undefeated teams, the only advantage is the home court. I think Michigan wins. I really like Michigan's defense. Their second half play and adjustments has been amazing all year. Just look at our fourth quarter points. But the Heisman Trophy candidate or leader for me was Stroud. He's playing a lot better than I gave him credit for to start the season.
The running back for Michigan is here.
He was hurt, but I haven't heard out. He'd kicked back for a little bit in that last game, and then they pulled him the rest of the game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Michigan does the upset. It's supposed to be nice in Ohio that day. The weather forecast is 47. It's not supposed to be anything crazy, but you never know. Roger?
Yeah, I heard Desmond Howard on the radio talking about the running backs. He thinks that both running backs will play. He thinks they'll keep it a running game because they was trying to decide if they thought that Michigan would kind of put the ball in the quarterback's hands, and he disagreed with that. He thinks Michigan will just kind of pound the game with their 2 running backs.
Last week, go ahead, Roger.
No, Harbaugh, he beat Ohio State for the first time last year. So did he figure out how to beat them? I'm kind of leaning towards Michigan myself, especially the 7.5. You know, I'll go ahead and say I think Michigan gets it done again this year. I think they knock off Ohio State.
I'm right there with you. I watched a little bit of the Michigan game last week, and I noticed that their second string running back was having a better game because their first one was a little bit hurt, and they're still trying to use him a little bit. So I think Michigan gets it done. They eat up some clock, and Ohio State maybe loses by 2 or 3.
Yeah, and interesting thing when you look at the stats, Michigan runs the ball about 50 yards more a game than Ohio State. But I think Ohio State's yards that they get are at the end when they're trying to just run the clock down and not when they need it. So when you see some of those Ohio State games, when they're going to need to get those 3 or 4 yards against Michigan, I think Michigan's still more adept, more already played that way, knows how to get those 3 or 4 yards, and I don't know if Ohio State can.
I may have said it once or twice, but defense wins championships.
I think I've heard that. Yeah. That sounds...
Once or twice. Michigan allows under 80 yards rushing a game. And Ohio State's just a little over 106, 107. So does it come down to defensive battle? Yeah, I think so. Maybe a turnover here and there, but yeah.
I like the unders in this game. I think it's a low-scoring game. Kind of like the Michigan-Illinois game last week. That was a great game. Illinois had them.
And I don't know the exact numbers. I don't have the super network computers, but Michigan's got to be top 10 or top 5 in fourth quarter points scored. They have really lit up the second half of games. Yeah. And when you have to play, even come back a little bit and your team knows, hey, we've made these right adjustments, and or whatever coaching on his sideline is like, okay, this is what they're doing. We can counter it now. And then boom, it's, several games, they went 3-4 straight drives in the second half, touchdown. So
moving on to TCU number 4 at home against Iowa State. Iowa State could spoil their perfect season, but they are 10.5-point underdogs.
And on the road. If this was at Iowa State with Campbell and that defense, I'd be right there with that. Ooh, very well could be that upset. TCU, again, not getting a lot of respect on the BCS poll or the college playoff poll. I can see them going in a little heated and trying to make a statement, I guess. I think that TCU really needs to make a statement this game. I don't think any of us really believe Iowa State wins this game. So I think it comes down to, does Iowa State keep it close like TCU has done the last few times? 1-point win over Baylor, 7-point win over Texas. They got to make a statement win against a lesser team of a lot of 20-point, take off early.
Iowa State's last place in the Big 12.
Right.
But somehow Baylor let them off the hook with a last-second field goal. I mean, that was luck.
Yes.
That was luck.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Yeah.
And that was definitely the day that they did it.
Yeah.
I'm taking Iowa State. And that's just for the points.
Oh, okay.
TCU wins.
Okay.
But
I got you.
Iowa State keeps it close, and Iowa State covers.
Okay.
James, are you?
I'm straight Baylor. I'm sorry, Baylor.
I understand why you said that, because it was so close that Baylor should have won.
Right. TCU. Yeah. I've been writing TCU probably since the week 3, and I think they deserve to be in the playoffs. Whatever. They will contend come playoff time.
Roger?
Iowa State in the unders. That's what I'm taking. I'll make it quick. Yeah.
Moving on to a Saturday evening matchup. This is huge because number 18 Notre Dame at 8-3 is on the road at number 7 USC, who's 10-1. USC has a slight chance of sneaking into the playoffs if the stars align.
Right.
I'll say if everything happens right for them. USC is favored by 5 at home, 62.5 overs. Roger, what do you think is going to happen in this one?
I don't know. I don't like USC very well. No. I like Notre Dame to keep it within the 5. I'll take USC to win, but I think it'll be a 38-35 game. Be high scoring. Take the overs in this one. But yeah, I'll take Notre Dame to cover.
Take the
5.
overs at 62.5?
Yeah, I believe so.
Wow. I'm taking Notre Dame to win, straight up. They've surprised a lot of people, including myself, over the course of the season. They've laid some eggs in early games.
Early. Yeah.
And they came back and beat Clemson. They barely beat Navy, which was odd, but I think they were looking ahead. And then they blanked Boston College 44-0. I feel that they're going to come out and spoil USC's chance at sneaking into the playoffs. James?
I'm so on the other page. I think it's USC, another team that got disrespected by the polls with LSU ahead of them in the playoff poll. 43 points a game in college. I don't care, Pac-12, Big 12, whatever conference in there. That's a heck of an offense. 330 yards passing. Wow. I think USC is for real. They've been battle tested. They've had their only loss is at a ranked Utah team. LSU lost at home to a Florida State team, which we know is not good at all. So for them not to be there, and again, I think the coach in them uses this. They're like, hey, look at these polls come out. We were disrespected once again. They have a 2-loss LSU team ahead of us. They come out with a statement win, and they beat Notre Dame by double digits. Notre Dame's great, 8-1 the last few games, but their opponents are not great. Clemson, but again, we even talked how we thought they were overrated, and even held them on that Wake Forest game that they squeezed out, and then they end up getting beat by Notre Dame. So, I mean, that was just, here, we know you're not good anyway. I think USC.
I'm going to mention Clemson for a little while. They're also a 1-loss team,
Right.
and somehow they're ranked 8 behind USC.
Right.
So it's an interesting end of the season.
I'm okay with Clemson being behind USC, but LSU should not be ahead of some of these 1-loss teams when one of their losses at home to a Florida State team. That's not a quality loss. It wasn't like it was a Florida, Kentucky loss. close battle. Granted, it was a close game, but it was a Florida State team who is not good that beat you at home.
I'm glad you brought up LSU. Let's talk about LSU. They're on the road at Texas A&M. Texas A&M is 4-7. LSU is ranked 6th, 2 losses, 9-2, and they're favored by 9.5 points on the road. So, James, continue with what you were saying about LSU.
I mean, at home, obviously, we all know that Death Valley is a tough place to play in. Granted, I get it. And again, you let Florida State come in and beat you when you had arguably a month to prepare for them because it was the first game of the season. Anyway, A&M is reeling. There are a lot of rumors. Does Jimbo stay? I don't think that's even an issue. I think he stays. I don't see them letting him go. His quarterback play has been just horrible for an A&M team's history. I like this mainly because LSU could be looking past A&M, and that'd be a big mistake. A&M's not a bad football team. I like A&M at home to go ahead and upset LSU where the committee can finally relieve a sigh of breath of relief and go, thank goodness we don't have to worry about trying to put them in there.
Yeah. They'd be the first 2-loss team in the playoff
if right.
You know. Yep.
Roger, are you taking A&M or LSU in this one?
I'm taking LSU.
I'm also taking LSU. I'm not taking them to cover. I'm just taking them to win. But I think James has a good point. A&M could really come in. A&M has only allowed a little over 20 points a game. Their defense is rock solid as far as numbers go in SEC. So they definitely have a chance, but I'm thinking LSU gets it done somehow. Staying in the SEC, let's take a look at number 5, Tennessee at Vanderbilt. James?
This is I know I just said about LSU looking past. Tennessee's already put themselves in a hole. They have to have a statement win. I think the players know it. The coaches don't, I don't think, have to tell them. They need a blowout win against a Vandy team that, is mediocre to say, hey, look, yeah, we had a hiccup against Georgia, but we can still hang with the big boys. They can't afford a 15, 20-point lead and then as a statement win. I'm talking a 35-point victory here. I picked Tennessee to win. To me, it needs to be by 30, 35 points to keep them relevant with the committee.
The line went up from 13.5 to 14, so Vegas thinks that they're going to have a little 2-touchdown win. Roger?
Yeah, Tennessee wins by 14. They got absolutely destroyed by South Carolina last week, which nobody saw that coming. Spencer Rattler threw for, 450 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Like 80% complete. He played the best game he has played even when he was at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And I'm a South Carolina fan. I'm like, dude, couldn't we get half of this all year? We could have been South Carolina coming into the season was a lot of talk because of him transferring. They're like, oh my goodness, we have a great quarterback coming in. We're going to lead in 4 or 5 games. And he was just an apple turnover machine.
Tennessee allows 300 yards passing a game.
Yes.
On an average. So it checks out that they did their research, due diligence, whatever you want to call it, and say these are the areas that you can exploit, and boy, did they.
Right, and I don't know if you guys, I watched some of the game. I didn't get to watch all of it, because we work. But, dude, he was putting some balls in some spots. There were a lot of contested catches even. What did hurt Tennessee that I saw was a little run after the catch. But they have some contested catches where Tennessee's there just could make the play. But on the flip side, Tennessee's offense just choked halfway through the second and majority of the third quarter. Couldn't get a first down.
Momentum,
right.
Yeah. Staying in the SEC, let's take a look at Auburn on the road at Alabama. Auburn, a 5-6 team, could really, really hurt Alabama's slim chances to get back into the college football playoffs. James?
They could, but Auburn hasn't showed me anything this year to give me any kind of hope to win this game.
Again, Vegas moved the line from 21.5 up a half to 22 even. Right. So even Vegas thinks that Alabama's going to come in and slaughter them. I'm taking Bama. Roger?
Yeah, I'm not going to take Alabama. I mean, this is the old Iron Bowl here,
Right.
and I cannot believe that spread is that high.
And Auburn's given up 380 yards a game, at minimum, 380 yards a game.
And they upped the overs to 49.5. They started at 48.5 earlier. So, again, Roger hit the nail on the head. The Iron Bowl. This is always a dogfight between these two, no matter what their records are. Roger, you taking Auburn to win or Auburn on points?
Auburn on points.
And my thing is, like I said, these normally conference know each other well, backyard brawl type thing, Iron Bowl. You would think Auburn comes in with a big chip on their shoulder. Hey, let's do something and knock these guys out of the playoffs. Give them that third loss, you know. But I just don't see it.
If Alabama sticks to a run script and eats the clock, they get it done. But their defenses allow roughly the same yards passing per game, and Auburn allows more points per game. Obviously, they've lost six games this year, but in my mind, Nick Saban buckles down, eats clock, and gets away with a win. Rodgers taking Auburn on points, which is still, it's anybody's game.
Right.
You got to show up and play it. So, any other thoughts on this game before we move on to another one?
We talked earlier, Bama has a chance to backdoor in, and they do. And like you said, that first two-loss team with LSU, Alabama could be that exact same two-loss team coming in. So, unfortunately, like I said last week, there's still a door for them to come in, and I hope it closes.
Yeah, and we talked that this could be the first year that neither Alabama nor Clemson makes the playoff. And now there's actually a case for Clemson getting in this thing still.
Yeah.
They are one loss.
Yeah.
The two teams ahead of them, Alabama and LSU, got two losses. But Clemson's resume kind of got a little bit better over this weekend because they came out and they made a statement win against Miami, held them to under 100 total yards. And then, of course, South Carolina coming off that big win against Tennessee, and that's who Clemson gets to play this weekend. So Clemson comes out and does the same thing to South Carolina that they did to Miami. Does the committee start looking at Clemson saying, well, that defense and that team has really showed us something the last 2 weeks? The AP poll already put Clemson ahead of Alabama. They got Alabama 7th in the college football playoff, but Clemson's actually 7th in that one. So I don't know. Does Clemson have a shot still? I mean, They are a one-loss team.
I want them to have a shot, just to make them look at expanding the playoffs sooner. I know they extended or they put a date of 2025,
right?
Roughly,
right.
But I wish they'd do it just this year because there's a lot of teams that are in the top, I'll say 8, that could potentially turn some heads in a tournament like that. So.
Their last two opponents, Louisville, Miami, not very good teams. Clemson should hold them down. They're in the conference. They know those teams well. But those one-loss teams, and this is when I say that Clemson has no shot, is your loser of the Ohio State-Michigan game, if it's a close game like we're all thinking it should be, that loser has more of a shot to get back in the playoffs than Clemson does to have jumping USC or TCU with no losses. So Georgia, we say wins outright. Say they beat LSU at the end of the season, they win the West. So they're going to be in. If the Ohio State-Michigan winner, that's 2 teams, they're in. Now you have TCU, USC, who very well could win still. That's 3. You're pretty much looking at, your USC team, your one-loss Ohio State team, and then, excuse me, I don't see any scenario where Clemson wins or like, oh my gosh, yeah, you got to put them a bet. Even USC, if they beat Notre Dame and probably beat a ranked Oregon team as their conference title, that doesn't help out Clemson at all with not having any ranked team to beat to get in.
All valid points, but it's the college football playoff committee that sometimes doesn't use logic at all. So
yeah, ever.
Moving on to an Oregon at Oregon State game. This is a ranked number 12 Oregon, and a ranked number 23 Oregon State. Oregon's only favored by 3.5. Overs are 56.5.
I think they're only favored by 3 because they're on the road. So it's technically maybe 6 points. You know, if it was a neutral site, I think Oregon would be up by a touchdown. I think just being on the road. And it's almost like the Iron Bowl. It's the backyard brawl. Home field's one thing, but everyone that's in that state loves both teams. So the crowd's going to be, there for both teams.
Okay, so hearing that, you say that the Ducks are going to get it done on the road.
I think so. I mean, they've won some. I haven't picked them very many times this year, and it's backfired numerous times. I really like Oregon. They're playing really well, and we talk about the defense, and their defense has played great.
I'm taking the Beavers to upset them. By the numbers, they're allowing fewer yards rushing. They're allowing fewer yards passing. They allow fewer points per game. Now, their offensive production isn't up to par with Oregon, but I feel that maybe a turnover here, plus with the defense, allows Oregon State to outright win.
Right.
So I'm taking the Beavers to win. Roger?
I like Oregon to win. They won last week against Utah, which I kind of felt like Utah was going to win that game. But,
right. Same. Bo Nix is.
I didn't really watch the whole game. I had it on the TV, but there was not a whole lot of scoring in that second half. I think this week it's different. I think the overs get hit. I think Oregon puts a lot of points up on the board. I think they cover easy.
Nix is a little banged up, Oregon's quarterback, but I think I still saw that he is playing this weekend, but I do know he is a little nicked up. And already 3,000 yards passing for Oregon. So
that's huge.
Yeah.
That's a lot of offense. We are going to stay on the football page, but we're going to move to the NFL and Thursday turkey game. I still miss the Pat Summerall, John Madden.
Oh my, Kentucky
6 turkey leg,
man.
where they just rip them off and hand them off.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. 3:30 Fox game. Giants at the Cowboys. Giants are 7-3. Cowboys are 7-3. Last time I looked, the Cowboys were favored by 9, and 44.5 for the overs. I haven't looked today. I don't know if that changed or not.
It's up to 9.5.
Is it 9.5 now?
And 34, I believe, are 45 is the overs.
Oh, they complete. Okay, so 9.5. They upped it a point or a half a point, and then a half a point on the overs.
Yep.
James, what do you think about this game?
Yeah, like we said a little bit earlier, you have the Cowboys that couldn't do anything with Green Bay, and then you go on the road to a very good Minnesota team that beat the Bills, and you just take them to the woodshed. I wish I knew which Cowboys team was going to show up. I'm hoping that was a wake-up call, like you had said earlier with Green Bay. Maybe Parsons calling out the defense, and somebody in a meeting started holding each other accountable because they definitely stuffed Dalvin Cook early. I mean, stuffed him early. Third play of the game, you get a strip sack, and Dallas, it's a roll from there. Division games, they're one of the ones I don't bet against when I was doing the whole, sports book stuff. Division, like last week with the Raiders, taking Denver. It was one of those things. It's a division.
You're going to
game.
make me cry. As a Broncos fan, they gave a win away, and then they end up cutting Melvin Gordon, who I sent you guys a text. How he decided to leave Denver was with an Instagram post using the photo from O.J. Simpson and the
Bronco.
Yeah, he put his picture in the Bronco. I'm getting sidetracked. So okay, so yeah, it's a division game. Cowboys Giants.
Tough.
It's tough.
So something's got to give. Dallas has lost their last 3 Thanksgiving games. Thank you for that, by the way. After I get done eating, that's what I want to do is watch a loss. But Dak has beaten the Giants 9 straight times. I mean, he has really had their numbers, super good numbers against them. 20 touchdowns, only 3 picks, I believe it is. I'm going to stick with my Cowboys at home. I believe this defense has hopefully found their stuff in that run game with Saquon Barkley, which is only kind of like Dalvin Cook. They only have a one-hit wonder there. they get it done at home.
Yeah, first year. Isn't Giants coach first year?
Yes.
Last week, we all said there's no way that Dallas stops Dalvin Cook in the run.
Right.
And Roger had an interesting point on how many yards they've allowed. It was 200-plus
200.
yards.
Right. They didn't even have 200 yards offense.
Yeah.
No.
Total.
So, Roger, what do you think about the Giants-Cowboys game?
I think the Giants will keep it within the 9.5. I don't believe they win. I said last week I think the Giants are a team that's going to start losing. I predicted them to go 2-6 the rest of the year. And last week I thought that they would beat the Lions, but then when they get into this conference or the division games, I just don't think they're going to win anymore. And then they turn around, they lose to the Lions. And I'm sticking with that. I think the Giants, even going 2-6, they could still make the playoffs with with a 9-8 record.
Yep.
I mean, they could, but I think they just fall and keep falling, and they're just going to keep losing. But I'll say they keep this game within 9.5 this weekend, and I think it'll be below 44.5 too.
I'm agreeing with Roger 100%. Something tells me that they have that hangover from the win.
Dallas.
Yeah, they're coming in a little overconfident. Somehow their coaching staff grounds them a little bit. But I'm right there with Roger. I think the Giants cover, but the Cowboys eke out a win at home on Thanksgiving. Now, remember, this is a short week
Right.
for them.
Well,
And even shorter because they have to travel. The home team always has advantage on the short week because you don't lose a day traveling.
and this is like it's a holiday game. It's like a Monday Night Football. The whole world's watching. I think it's going to be a good game, but Dallas will come out on top.
The Thanksgiving evening game, the Patriots are 6-4 at the Vikings, who we just gave a lot of talk about, and they are 8-2, favored by 3 at home. 42.5 were yesterday's numbers. I don't know if that's changed.
It's about the same, yeah.
I think the Vikings come out. Oh, actually, it lowered. It's now 2.5 for the Vikings, and the over stayed at 42.5. But now they're only favored by 2.5. Roger, what do you think about this game? It's in a dome, so you don't have to worry about weather.
No, and the Vikings got beat up bad last week. Wow. Yeah, they got beat up bad. But the Patriots did not look very good last week. That game was 3-3, and the Patriots won on a walk-off punt return for a touchdown.
Yeah,
It was crazy.
I thought they were going to overtime the way it looked.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yep.
I really don't know about this game. Something tells me the Patriots are going to win. I think it stays under. So yeah, I'm going to take the Patriots and the unders, and it's just because I think the Vikings are just not going to play much better this week again. Patriots defense is pretty good, so that's what I'm going to stick with.
But Patriots defense are amazing. They're allowing just shy of 17 points a game, where the Vikings are a little over 23. Something tells me the Vikings get it done, though, at home. I mean, you got to win by 1. I'm not saying they cover.
Right. Yep.
Um,
I'm 100% in what you guys are finishing just saying. Their offense wasn't very good last week against the Jets, who, again, division matchup, so it's going to go good. But their defense, if you take away that Bears game, is below 17. It's probably in the 13-14 range if you take away that 33 points that the Bears put up on them. By the way, it should have been 40. But Belichick has got their defense going so good right now that we only have to play Brady ball. We only have to put up 15, 18 points, and we can win the game. I totally think the Pats win this. I'm on the page where Roger is talking about he thinks the Giants are going to start losing. I'm not saying Dallas exposed Minnesota, but I think, I said it before the Cowboys game the week before was, I don't think we didn't even have Minnesota in our top 3, right? At 8 before the Bills game when we picked them, we didn't even have them up there. And then they beat the Bills, and we're like, oh, okay. Last week showed us the Bills are good. I'm sorry, the Vikings are good, but I don't think they're a big NFC contender. I think they start losing, and it starts, obviously started last week, and I think the Pats get it done this week on the road, mainly behind that defense. A very low, boring game. All you that want to fall asleep during the nighttime game, you can fall asleep during this game. It's going to be a lot of punting, a lot of, running. I think Pats get it done.
Moving on to the Sunday games, Rodgers Falcons are 5-6, still have an outside chance to get into the playoffs.
Hey, win the
they're
division.
And they're not even, it's not even a slim chance. You're right. They're winning their division.
Well, they're not winning it, but they could still win it because I don't think the Buccaneers are still that good. But I said 2 weeks ago that the Buccaneers will win the South, and I believe that. But it's just amazing that Atlanta's only one game behind.
The spread started at 3.5 at the beginning of the week. It's now midweek, and it went from 3.5 to 4.5 for the Commanders to win, and the overs went down a point to 42. But you're thinking the Commanders get it done?
Oh yeah. I think Washington's playing
Really good.
I'm not going to say they're playing good. I don't think they're playing good, but I believe they can beat the Falcons.
I'm on the other page. I think they are playing really good. I feel for Wentz. I really liked him as a quarterback, but this team has rallied around Heineke for whatever reason. And that win against Philly put a stamp on them like, okay, hey, this guy can lead us. Then they win again against Houston. Not a convincing win, but they still won on the road. You just took out Philly on the road, and then you went on to Houston, won on the road, and now you get a home game against a really good Atlanta team, but a really one-dimensional Atlanta team. And they took away the run from Philly and won that game. And I think Washington is the same team this week and wins this week also.
I'm agreeing with all you guys. The Commanders have rallied around Heineke, who actually was in the XFL, I believe.
Yes, for a little bit.
And that gave him a little bit more experience. A little bit. Not saying that Wentz doesn't have experience, but he does. And they've won some close games. They won a close game against Green Bay. They won a close game against Indianapolis. I know Indianapolis isn't that good, but they're still pros.
Right.
They lost a close one by 3 points to Minnesota. They beat a decent Philadelphia team by 10 plus.
Some people still have them as a top 3 power team, and I'm like, I still don't see it. Though, if you look at Philly's schedule, and I know I've already said this in previous podcasts, Philly's wins are against very below 500 teams. I mean, they have the Cowboys, but that was again without Dak. You know what I'm saying? So, and their first win against Washington was without their quarterback. So, I think Philly's way overrated. Their schedule's fairly easy. They're going to lose against Dallas the next time they play. And I think there's one other team in there I think they're going to lose. This week they have the Packers coming into home. And I don't mean to change the game. I know this wasn't on our schedule.
That's all right. Go ahead.
But I really can see Aaron Rodgers and the Packers making it either tough or winning that game in Philly. And maybe that would wake up these people that are on this high fly eagle horse. Not on it. Sorry.
Eagles did come back and win that, game. First time all year.
Right.
They were down 10, and they came back and won. And that's the one thing I said I've been looking for all year, what the Eagles can do when they finally get behind. They got behind, they came back and won.
They were behind.
That could be a little bit of a confidence builder for this team. So
they were behind against the Arizona game, and then late in the second half, and came back and beat Arizona. Again, Arizona not good. They got blown out ugly by the Niners. It was against a Colts team who wouldn't even score in the second half. If the Colts could have got a field goal in that second half, Eagles don't win.
Arizona dealt with some drama while they were in Mexico. They released one of their coaches, a offensive line coach, before the game even started. They sent him home. No one has said what exactly he did, but they dealt with some drama off season. They're dealing with some drama during the season. I 100% agree that Arizona, for some reason, just is struggling.
Right.
But we're going to move on to the Bengals 6-4 on the road at the Tennessee Titans 7-3. Titans run game strong, but the Bengals are favored by 1.5 on the road.
Yeah, I'll take Cincinnati. I'll take Cincinnati in this game. I don't have much notes to talk about this game, but last year Cincinnati played well in the second half of the year. I think this is the time that they need to start playing well again, and I like them. I like them. Tennessee's the home team, but yeah, I'll just take Cincinnati. That's about all I got on that game.
James?
I'm torn. My son's huge Cincinnati fan. I pull from every week. I mean, when they swapped the game yesterday or last week because it was a blowout, they went to the Pittsburgh-Cincinnati game. And watching that game and watching Cincinnati, and I know the running back went out. I can't think of his name, out of Oklahoma. He went out with injury, and they had a backup guy playing.
Dixon.
Yes. Okay. So, but Tennessee, the last few games, and even that Kansas City game that they go in overtime, they just couldn't score, is playing really good ball, even behind Tannehill.
I apologize. I said Dixon. It's Joe Mixon.
Mixon.
Yeah.
There you go. You were right there. It's a vowel or letter, a consonant, right?
He's questionable.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase is questionable.
It's at Tennessee on the road. And yes, Cincinnati is starting to play good. They're getting the receivers back. I don't know. I don't think Jamar Chase is going to be back this week, especially being I like to pull for my son and the Cincinnati Bengals, but I still see Cincinnati or Tennessee is running the ball. They didn't run it great last week. Green Bay actually played good run defense, but they scored enough to win on the road. On a short week, by the way. They had that Thursday night game. So now Tennessee has those extra days of rest. Unfortunately, I see Tennessee winning this game.
I'm right there with you for all the same reasons. By the numbers, Tennessee only allows less than 85 yards rushing, but they allow 288 yards passing. But it comes down to the intangibles. Who holds the clock? Are there any turnovers? And I think that the meter leans towards Titans. I think they're just slightly better than Cincinnati, unless Joe Burrows goes off and just crazy game.
Yep.
But I'm taking Titans to win.
I don't have the stats in front of me as far as who turns the ball over more, but I'd be willing to bet Cincinnati definitely turns the ball over more than Tennessee. So Tennessee can survive a few 3-and-outs and have Cincinnati turn the ball over. Cincinnati can't survive 3-and-outs expecting Tennessee to turn the ball over.
I don't have the exact numbers, but Burrows already has 8 interceptions on the season.
There you go. And Tannehill, has 5?
4?
4. Yeah. So you see what I'm saying? It could come down to a bad turnover at the wrong time for Cincinnati. And by the way, did it a couple of times last week to Pittsburgh. So
we're going to talk basketball. Moving on to the NBA. The NBA season is starting to heat up. There's some really close, tight races across all divisions. And it's fun. It's fun to watch. For me, it's fun to see some of the teams that at the beginning of the season you thought, oh, they're going to repeat. That'd be the Warriors. And they can't get a win to save their life, no matter how many points Curry scores.
And then we talk bad about the Lakers. LeBron goes out, and they win the next 3 games. Obviously, they won last night, but they
didn't win last night.
No. But Davis all of a sudden has a rejuvenation. I'm like, what is the problem when your guy is on the floor to help you that you don't play well, and then he goes out with an injury, and all of a sudden there's an awakening. And on the flip side, the Nets suspend Kyrie. They go on a big win tear, not big, but they win 4 or 5 in a row, and you're like, okay. Then they go into Philly, who didn't have anyone play. It was pretty much the backups. You lose with your stars there.
Yeah, Kevin Durant couldn't score, scored 22, 23?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was less than 25, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Ben Simmons had a double-double.
Yeah, Ben Simmons has actually played pretty good the last 4 games.
He has.
Right.
Better than he's been playing.
Yeah, we know he's not the scorer.
Yeah.
But he's getting the
Oh, we're still going.
Oh, phew.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would really like to see, again, I don't know if that game's on TV, but I would like to see part of that Jazz Golden State game on Friday.
The Jazz Warriors State game is not on TV that I see.
Man,
Unless you have a league pass.
right. The West Coast games really kind of don't resonate back over here in the Midwest. And Utah's not too far away, but it is on the road. So TNT, I'm surprised not picking it up.
The only games that I see on Friday are both on NBA TV, and that's the Pelicans at the Grizzlies and the Nuggets at the Clippers. But I understand why you would want to see the Jazz and the Warriors. I'm not really sure why nobody picked it up, but they haven't.
Right.
And then that other Friday game is the 11-6 Cavs against the 12-4 Bucks.
Right.
So two huge games on Friday to take a look at and see who comes out on top of that.
And again, a measuring stick for the Cavs going into Milwaukee. Even without Middleton, can you D him up, get that feeling of that other guy, Giannis up front, playing defense on Giannis and Lopez and, all their usual suspects. And can we go toe-to-toe with them? Or is it, man, we're just 12, 15 points outmatched every time we get on the court?
Milwaukee's deep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're deep. And Cleveland's young. So, go in fearless, Cleveland, and make a run.
Staying with basketball, James has sent me a couple things to look at for the NCAA men's basketball. So tomorrow, Turkey Day, we have a ESPN invite.
Yeah, you got Big OU and the Big Red. Nebraska's had a couple wins. It's not the typical football OU-Nebraska matchup, but the fans still don't like OU no matter what team they bring in. So hopefully the crowd is loud and proud, and we can get this win and for Fred Hoiberg for sure.
If they don't start winning, I'm fearful that Fred Hoiberg isn't going to be around much longer. This is a 4 p.m. ESPN match. Obviously, it's on ESPN. It's the ESPN invite. But, Roger, do you have any thoughts about this OU?
Well, the Nebraska basketball team, as far as just looking at their the scores, the teams that they played, they had St. John's down at halftime, and they allowed St. John's to score 50 points in the second half and beat them. And now we play this Arkansas Pine Bluff, and I saw that the Huskers were either up by 3 or down by 3 at halftime, and I thought,
again, yes,
yeah, this Nebraska team is just, they're not good. And then they come out in the second half and they score 45 points and win the game by, I don't even remember what it was, 15?
82-58. 17 points.
82-58?
Or 27. Yeah, they won by 27. Yeah, you're right. They can't, once again, a basketball team we're not used to seeing play the second half as well as they did, came out in the second half and scored.
Yes.
And, yeah, if we can start getting that Nebraska team, they're going to be nice to watch.
So, yeah, you're right. Scoring 40 points and a half in college basketball, that's a lot of points. So if, maybe we have a better offense than I thought. So we'll just have to see. I mean, once we start playing in the Big Ten, I just hope we can win a couple games in the Big Ten this year.
Yeah, I hope we can too. It was difficult to watch these Huskers just struggle against some of the best teams in the nation in the basketball.
And the Big Ten's supposed to be down this year too, as far as talent-wise. So
OU played that same Pine Bluff, and they only won 66-58. So, like opponents, hopefully, the good measuring stick there. But I don't think the Big Ten's down. I know ranking-wise, we barely have 5 teams. I think we got 6 teams in there now because, like I said, Michigan State wasn't even in there. And look at their resume now. So they've jumped way up there. Illinois' got some love. Indiana's up in there now. Michigan's up in there now. A lot of these teams that weren't in there because of whatever reason, their preseason didn't like their recruiting class. But like I said, Michigan State came in unranked, took Gonzaga to the wire, ended up beating Kentucky, and one other good win. So, like I said, it's early. I do think the Big Ten's strong. Purdue's still going to be strong. Iowa, I think, still going to make some noise. And, of course, Illinois, Indiana's are always good. And we haven't even talked about Wisconsin yet.
if Hoiberg makes the same adjustments he did to get his team to come out and shoot lights out in the second half
Yes.
against that last game, they have a great chance against OU. If he doesn't make any adjustments, if he can't get his team to listen to him and play the way he wants them to play, I think that's the big thing.
Yes.
I don't know why they don't listen to him, because I feel that Hoiberg is a great coach.
And I don't know. Right. So we bring all this talent, we say year in, year in out. So does he not know how to communicate it to the players, which that makes him a good coach but can't communicate? Or, the style he wants to play doesn't rally the type of players he recruited? Because, for some reason, first half, we're like, okay, man, we're in this. And then the second half, it's like, you guys didn't even come out of the locker room? I mean, would you go back there, have a little big cake party and come on out and celebrated the win in the first half? But, yeah, I didn't get to see the game, but
I didn't watch
from
the game
the sum
either.
of it, you can't put up that many points without having a great second half, which not known for this basketball team. So maybe that's a great start and hopefully a stepping stone.
Yeah, I'm crossing my fingers. I hope so. James had sent me a text earlier in the week about this next game, also on ESPN. This is part of the Phil Knight invite on the West Coast. A 9:30 ESPN, Michigan State and Alabama. Now, Michigan State's ranked 12th. They've jumped into the rankings.
Springboard. Yeah.
And
Undefeated Alabama.
And I haven't seen any point spread, but the ESPN matchup predictor has Alabama 70% chance to win. And I think that's just a load of buffalo chips.
Because Alabama hasn't played anyone. All right, I have it right here. They played some JV state, USA, Liberty, and Long Island, lost to Notre Dame 78-64. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Jacksonville State.
Jacksonville State. And then you go to Michigan State, who has at one point lost to Gonzaga. They have a loss to Duke in the very beginning of a preseason game. But they played Kentucky, beat them, and beat a ranked Villanova team. So they have played conference teams and won. Yeah, points. Yeah, they're right. There's no point spread. There's no over-under on it yet. Why? I don't know. You would think it'd be out by now. But, I think Michigan State wins this game again and say, hey, you can underestimate us all you want and put us as the underdogs. We don't care. We're just going to win games just like we do in the tournament every time.
Roger?
Yeah, I like Michigan State. They're a good team.
They're a great team.
How are they not ranked? That's just Tom Izzo being a good coach and has a team playing well.
Thank you.
Alabama, coming off last year, they went to the Sweet 16 last year. So, that's where they're getting their love. Maybe they brought back their whole team. Maybe they expect them to be really good again this year. So,
but beat somebody. It's early. Everybody gets the cupcakes. But this is why I like Coach K, Bill Self. I don't know the Gonzaga coach's name, but they go into these invitationals where they know there's another top dog. And Michigan State's going to take that loss to Gonzaga. Duke's going to take that loss to Kansas. But guess what? That makes you a better team. When you get in these lower tournaments to pad your win-loss record, and then when it comes to real tournaments when you have to play the big dogs, your team's not battle-tested. Best time to battle-test is early, and then pad your wins later for the selection committee and blah, blah, blah.
To me, it's not even a surprise Michigan State comes in and just blows Alabama out of the water.
Right.
I don't see them keeping up with the pace. I don't see them having the defensive acumen to get it done.
Rebounding.
I see Izzo's team being well coached, well disciplined, few turnovers, and they just come in and from start to finish.
Yep, I agree.
Mark Few, Gonzaga head coach.
Right, yes. And, do you agree that these coaches do not shy away from these invitationals? Ooh, Duke's going to be there. Ooh, Kentucky's going to be there in Kansas.
You want that early test. You want to see where your team is at.
Yes, I have. And Duke, like I said, that Duke-Kansas game was just ugly. I wish it was an 84-80 game, whatever, a better shooting game. I don't think either team got a feel of who was better. They both played like asses. One played less ass than the other one.
We've hit everything that's on our list, and last week we went off the rails. I'm sorry, James. You got one more parting thought?
The soccer.
Yeah. Yep.
So the World Cup's going on, and I love Roger's thing is how we're not a soccer country. And I 100% agree with Roger. We have the MLS, but if you look at the attendance and everything, it's not as bad as the XFL, USFL, but it's not great. And even though we think these guys are, oh my gosh, when we watch MLS, these guys could compete. No, we would get owned by any other league play, any other country. But in the World Cup, we have sold the second most tickets behind the host country of Qatar. So the U.S. had more tickets bought for a country that's not a soccer country. Very impressive.
Fanatic. That is the full name of fan. When it comes to soccer, the soccer fans are fanatics, and they will travel. It doesn't matter. And they're usually well educated. They're usually very well versed on how to use their passport.
Yep.
But they love to go.
Yeah, I didn't know we had that many.
Yeah,
second most.
Yeah, we let that game slip away from us for Wales. We had them beat, and I think we just got a little bit tired and a little bit lazy, and at the end, and Wales scored on us. But we came out of that game with a draw, which is huge, actually,
right,
in the world of soccer.
In the world of soccer, it is huge because you get not as many points as a win, but you get more points than an actual loss.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a young team. And I was saying earlier, this is the most aggressive. Granted, we haven't seen them in 8 years, but usually when I watch the men teams, they play really conservative. Let's not play to lose and see if we get an opening. This team went after it. The downfall was after they got that 1-0 lead, and Wales started to push a little bit. They bent, but they held until the 80th minute. A silly penalty in the box. The worst part about that was in the box, so it's a free kick. And I mean, one-on-one with the goalie, it's like shooting a free throw. 89% of the time it's going to go in, right? And that guy, what a missile. I don't even know if the goalie ever saw it. I mean, he made a nice effort. But anyway, just a bad luck with the penalty that late in the game. Like I said, they could have got tired. But again, young team, they need to be on the aggressive side against these older teams. I like our shot, but against England, now the tie's nice, but we're 2 points behind because England won. So we're 2 points behind them, and that's our next game is Friday around 11 o'clock.
1 point behind them. We got 1 point. They got 2, right?
They got 3.
Oh, they get 3 for the win. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So, again, if we could tie them, that would be huge, as far as pool points and moving on. But England is tough.
They scored 6 goals.
Right. And that's our next game at 11 o'clock on Friday before the Huskers play. So get your little World Cup fill. Get some USA chanting, and then when you flip over to the Nebraska-Iowa game, you're already pumped up, ready to go.
Yeah, instead of watching the pregame, just watch a little soccer.
Yeah.
Or go back to Ted Lasso and flip on a little Ted Lasso if you want a little soccer entertainment world. And that's where I was going. I wasn't saying we can't talk about soccer, but last week we went off the rails a little bit when I threw out the question, what are some of the greatest films when it comes to sports and what you've watched? So is there anything else in your guys' minds that come to mind?
Well, Saudi Arabia upset Argentina. They call that like a huge upset.
That was,
I mean, big.
That was huge.
I mean,
Messi is supposed to be the best since Pele.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Qatar was the first host nation to lose opening game ever in the World Cup. So already early.
To me, that shows Messi's on the downhill slide of his career.
Yes, 100%. I mean, well, good grief. He's like 38.
But if you've watched the news, he walked off the pitch when he was upset, but they won the match. This is before World Cup. This is with his regular club, and I don't think he's just all clicking right now. So something's going on with the poor guy.
He's a diva.
Yeah, sure. You're a millionaire and you play a game.
And the U.S. is the second youngest team in this tournament.
Yes, and have their youngest captain since like 1950.
Yes.
Yeah. So. Great. I think the youth helps for the longevity of being ready for the next game, healing faster, maybe staying aggressive and having to play with no fear because they have to go into England and play aggressive. If they go in there and this coach says, "Hey, let's play mistake free," we're going to lose 3-0. He has to go. You know what? We have nothing to lose. No one expects us to win this game. We need to go out there and just run at them and push them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
any other parting thoughts, gentlemen?
I do. So. Watching that soccer game, and it brought me up on a couple other sports. Offsides is the worst thing to hold back any sport. Roger talked earlier how when you watch a soccer game, you can sit there and watch for 25 minutes and not seeing a single shot on goal. And it's because there's no offsides. Hockey, no offsides. That's dumb. Soccer, no offsides. That's dumb. You imagine if you said
there's offsides in hockey. Or I'm sorry, there's offsides in
right,
soccer.
Sorry, you can't be offsides.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
So could you imagine in the NBA where they told Jordan, all them, hey, no, you can't start off ahead of time. You have to be behind the first defender before you make your fast break. You have to stop at half court. Are you kidding me? And in the NFL, same thing. I love the CFL rule where the receiver can start going towards the line of scrimmage as long as you snap the ball ahead of time, right? To me, the defensive has an advantage there also because they can see him. And if, I know you're going to snap the ball when he gets there. So I'm ready to go. Forget your snap count faking me out. I can go, right? But to me,
so that drives you nuts with the soccer?
yes, because so many times the U.S. had a guy sprinting, but he had to stop. Again, young, fast, quick team had to slow down because the Wales guy would slow down. And that's what you do as a defense. If they're bringing up the ball, you kind of slow up a little bit, make that defender or make the offensive guy not get there. Hockey, I have a fast break, but oh crap, I might be able to cross this blue line before the puck. So again, you slow down the game and that limits scoring. I think it's silly.
There's offsides and there's also passive offsides in soccer.
Right. And to me, if you want to open it up and get the people, get goals, let's see the 7-5 games. Let these guys be offsides or
that's what they did with hockey.
go.
That's what they did with hockey.
3-on-3.
When they, well, not only that, but they allowed them to get into, what's the term? They changed a huge hockey rule where
The two-line pass.
there you go, the two-line pass. They changed that, and they also changed that they wouldn't let them in the crease.
Right.
I think I have it wrong, but
The two-line pass, taking that away was huge. Yes.
and that created
that
a
helped
lot
a
more
lot.
scoring.
Right. Now, just think if you take away the stupid blue line offsides.
Yeah, the soccer. Well, okay, but the soccer aficionados, the soccer, just
Right. It's like baseball. There's that one tradition that we're not going to change, and I believe it's so silly to me because, again, I don't watch it every year. I don't watch MLS, but here I'm watching, and I watch the Women's World Cups. You know, I watch their matches, and it's the same thing. I'm like, even if it's against us, I'm like, if you make the play and you see you have the offense and you can make the throw or the kick, pass, whatever you want to call it, down there, why penalize a team for being aggressive and fast? You literally take a team speed away by bringing up offsides in hockey and soccer. You know, I don't know if rugby has that. I don't know the rules of that. But if they have it, again, get it out of there. And the NFL, if you're listening, let us run towards the line of scrimmage. You already want this a passing scoring league. Open it up and let CeeDee Lamb have a head start.
Roger.
Yeah, I'll touch on hockey a little bit. Just to, like I said, we all like win streaks. We all pay attention to win streaks. Sacramento's got their 7-game win streak going in the NBA. The New Jersey Devils still got 13 games in a row. 13 in a row.
13
I
in a
love
row.
it.
That is
Oh,
huge.
man.
In
13 in a
hockey.
row, and there's 2 other teams in hockey starting their own win streaks. The Boston Bruins and the St. Louis Blues each have 7.
Yeah, the Bruins lately have been on a tear.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, obviously they've won them all, but I mean they've been winning convincingly.
So, but yeah, that 13 wins by the Devils, that's pretty impressive.
Yes, for a team that, by the way, last year I didn't think they were. I think they were like 5-6 games below 500. They were terrible.
Yeah.
Painful to watch, so I didn't watch them. Again, I am a Devils fan. I can't say I've been, painfully every year in hockey because I don't follow it too much, but I love seeing that they're finally starting to win again.
Not on hockey, but the Jets bench Zach Wilson.
He
And-
did. That was official today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they went with Mike White.
They went with Mike White.
Yeah.
Really?
I don't know if that's the right choice, but
I
time
don't
will tell.
either.
To
Yeah.
touch on last week's movies, did any other movies or any other shows come to mind? Because a friend of mine said that you didn't include The Wrestler. And
Is that a sports movie?
well, and that's just it.
Or an entertainment movie?
It's an entertainment movie, and pro wrestling has huge fans. And again, they're fanatics.
Yes.
I would say 90% of them understand that it's not real and it's staged.
But they have in their mind it's real.
But
They will talk like it's real.
They love the show.
Yes.
And that goes into Glow. If you haven't seen Glow on Netflix, now that's the ladies of wrestling that aired back in the, I want to say, late 80s, early 90s. It was interesting because they used pro wrestlers from this day and age as coordinators to help them with that. But also the wrestler, Mickey Rourke, I hadn't seen it. And Darren Aronofsky was the director, and he's done some weird stuff. If you don't know who that is, look up his IMDb page. But I was shocked at how good that was. And they ended on a cliffhanger.
Oh.
You're asking, okay, so does this character die? Does he continue on? Because Mickey Rourke's character had open heart surgery. He just beat up his body, just used steroids and everything under the sun. And in his last match against the Ayatollah, he actually, in the movie, goes down on a knee because he's having some heart problems.
Oh, no.
In the match, and Ayatollah's like, "We've given him the show. We've just pin me," and he's like, "Nope, I got to go for my signature move off the top rope," and that's where they cut it.
Oh,
you
my
just
goodness.
see him flying across the screen, and then it goes to the credits.
So 2 movies did, and they were basketball, because I was like, I know I like other movies. Hoosiers 1, which obviously is a classic. Everybody's got to love Hoosiers. But the other one was Blue Chips. And as a young pup, not young, but as a young adult, watching Blue Chips and seeing the bribing thing coming up, I didn't really knew that was a thing. But then when you watch it, you're like, oh my gosh, this really happens, where it's not like the kid's getting the money, but the mom does. And all of a sudden a tractor pops up at their farm and all this stuff. That was an eye-opener for me. Good grief, they let Shaq go crazy, and those other, Anthony Hardaway, do their thing and have, some great basketball moments. But that was a good movie for me to go, oh my gosh, this is for real,
Gene Hackman did a great job in Hoosiers, and Nick Nolte did a great job in Blue Chip. And there's other shows out there where they talk about point shaving and all this other stuff.
One thing I liked about what Gene Hackman did in Hoosiers, which I don't know if it was real, if it was, I know it was based on somewhat loosely of true events, but when he went in there when Indiana made the tournament and they go to that big gym, that big school, he walks in there and brings a whole team with him. Here are these all, small town guys in these little gyms of 300 people and now about to sit in front of a few thousand. He gets the tape measure and measures the goal. It says 10 feet. Then he measures like the free throw line, shows them, hey, doesn't matter how big this gym is. The rim and the court are exactly the same that we've been playing on. And it was one of those things where those guys, we can play here. It was a rough start for him in the game and ended up winning, obviously. But yeah, it was one of those things Gene Hackman's like, dude, hey, look, this rim's 10 foot like every other one. The free throw line is X for it, just like every other place, So
yeah,
I thought that was awesome.
Yep.
Roger's the one who turned me on to this series on Netflix. It's called Bad Sport. And to continue on with the Blue Chips theme, episode 1 is called Hoop Schemes, and it follows an Arizona State guard who gets caught up with point shaving, gets caught up with this
Michael Bibby
bookie. Actually, he never played after this. He went to prison. You want an interesting sports show? You need to check this out. The Hoop Schemes first episode of Bad Sport is very interesting.
What's that on?
Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dwayne Fontana,
That was a player?
Stephen Smith. These are all the ASU guards. Isaac Burton, and there was a gambler, Joe Gagliano. Roger, do you remember this episode?
I don't remember. I remember me and you talking about it, but I never watched it.
You seriously never watched
I never
it?
did watch it.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to have to. I like those shows.
It's true. And they talked to all the players that were involved. Every single one, including the one who did the point shaving. They talked to his teammates. I was amazed at how well he did this. And this was a guy who would have went to the NBA. Would have.
What about the Fab Five? I've watched ESPN's on that a couple times, and like the Jalen Roses and them have admitted and said, apologize. You still have those other ones that don't admit to getting the paid and all that. Now, my problem is, it sucks. They were such a talented team, and obviously couldn't beat the Dukes of the world and stuff, but in North Carolina. But they played well, and they were a great team, and now get overshadowed by the whole controversy of it all. And 4 of the 5 go to the NBA, have decent careers. But yeah, there's another thing of these guys have such a talented team, and it's overshadowed by the bad spot. Charles Barkley, after he came out of Auburn, yeah, they paid me. Sure. I was like, dude, if you didn't get caught, don't ruin it for your school, because you don't get in trouble, but now the school does. So but that bugs me when I love Charles Barkley, but when he did that, I was like, dude, that's just mean.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't. No, 100%. He's a diva.
And what he said last night on the air, he called the non-superstars in the NBA that's just another guy. They're not a great player. They're not an amazing. They're just another player. And I don't always agree with what he says, but that's what makes him great to watch.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave some links in the description again. One of them is for that Netflix show I was just talking about. Gentlemen, any other parting thoughts for the show?
No, I'm good.
I'm good.
All right, everybody, happy holidays, and go watch some sports. Thanks for listening.